Stop distracting the talent, Aaron. Go sweep something. And 15% I keep trying to say unlimited and stopping. E85 is a blend of 80%. Oh, now I'm really fucked up here. G'day guys, Bentley here from East Coast Customs. Today we're going to be talking about E85. E85 is generally a blend of 85% ethanol and 15% premium unleaded petrol. So that means it's generally blended with 98 octane fuel itself. You have other blends of ethanol and stuff, and E10, that sort of stuff. It's not based for performance at all. So that's what you want to avoid. The reason you'd want to run E85 in your car is you have much lower chances of detonation. The fuel burns a bit slower and that sort of stuff, burns a little bit cooler. But yeah, the main benefits is the knock reduction, and you can run more boost and more timing and you'll make more power. You typically only run E85 in the higher performance applications. Higher compression or higher boost levels is where you'll get the main benefits from it. If you have a really low compression motor, something that doesn't run any boost, you don't really need that the knock reduction, so you're not going to be able to take advantage of running extra timing, so you're not really going to gain much from it. Most modern cars will be able to run on E85. Depends on whether or not their fuel system is up to the task of the flow that is required. If your car's NA, that sort of stuff, typically you'll be able to run E85 without changing anything. If it's boosted, typically you'll need to upgrade the fuel pumps and injectors to something more suitable, as you burn at least 30% more, usually about 40% more, depending on application. The gains can vary. Typically on a turbocharged or supercharged car, you'd usually pick up about anywhere from 20 to 50 kilowatts, depending on how extreme you go with adding extra boost, that sort of stuff. Without adding extra boost or anything like that, you would typically not gain as much. The car will usually, depending on the application, if it can add its own ignition timing, it'll pick up a little bit just based off ignition timing. And then once you start adding more boost, pulling down the supercharger or adding more boost with a turbocharged car, it can gain, you know, the sky is the limit to how much you want to gain depending on what you put on the car. This brings me to my pet peeve, and I've had to stop correcting people on Facebook. Corn juice, got to run that corn. E85 in Australia, produced by United, is not, or was not, made from corn. It's made from sorghum, which is pretty much exactly like corn. But I mean, if we're really getting specific here, it's not corn. In Australia, running on United, it's generally not made out of corn. It pretty much is made out of corn everywhere else in the rest of the world though. You'd pretty much run E85 on anything boosted. It's going to be just so much safer straight away. It's the best way to go with boost. Then your high compression, naturally aspirated builds, Mustangs, anything modern, your Mustangs, your LT1s, all that sort of stuff, they're running just so much more compression than the older cars. Their fuel systems are also a bit better quality plastics, less rubber. They'll run, you know, stainless steel tips in the injectors, that sort of stuff, so they're not going to have any corrosion issues. You can run them in all of your old Jap cars, all that sort of stuff, but you typically will need to be replacing fuel pumps, lines, hoses, filters, everything a lot more, getting everything built up to the task. Downsides to running E85 is it attracts moisture, so it's hygroscopic. Basically, as the E85 makes its way into the oil, which happens on a 98 car as well, it's just not as much of a problem. The fuel sits in the oil and then it can attract moisture. So you can end up with a bit of moisture in your oil. If you cold start the car, drive it in and out of the garage a bunch of times, it's just going to keep adding more and more moisture into the oil and doesn't get burnt off. So it can cause all kinds of issues there. But breaking down the oil, that sort of stuff, you can spin bearings, cause engine damage that way. The other problems are if you have the tank sitting there for ages with only half a tank of E85, it's going to attract moisture, it's going to run moisture through the injectors, can cause all kinds of dramas there, can corrode fuel lines, that sort of stuff. The fuel itself is a little bit more corrosive than normal fuel. You know, if you spill it on the floor or something, it just destroys the paint straight away. So you do need to take that into mind as well with what components you're fitting to the car to run on ethanol. But as long as you're running ethanol rated fuel hose, fuel pumps, injectors, that sort of stuff, you also need to change the oil more regularly. Drive the car, you know, at least once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, take it on a good drive. There's pretty much no downside. The fuel itself contains less energy, so you need to burn more of it to get to the same amount of potential energy in the motor. So that's why your ethanol air fuel ratio is usually about 9.7 to 1 instead of 14.7 to 1. You're burning about 33% more fuel to get to the same power of combustion. So yeah, you typically burn about 30% more to 40% more. That's sort of the basic rundown of it. There's obviously a lot more intricacies there to discuss. So if you are interested in running ethanol in your build, get in touch with the guys. and we can organise a time to get back to you and give you all the pros and cons for your build in particular, what you'll need to change, whether or not you can run it, that sort of stuff, what sort of power potential you might be able to pick up, and extra servicing requirements.